the Heritage Foundation, Brent Sadler. Brent, always great to have you. Also with us today, foreign policy expert Harley Lippman. Gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All the incoming back and forth between Israel excuse me, and Hezbollah has to end before these talks can go on. Those talks aren't scheduled for Washington, D.C. until next week. If those go off, don't those two discussions, shouldn't they be taking place simultaneously to get this conversation really started effectively?
Well, here's what I'll say about that. President Trump has done a great job. I'll tell you why. He is really a president looking for peace in the world. And this is a great example of it. He's giving Iran an opportunity to have an out, to have a settlement that's going to be a win for everyone. President Trump is not a guy who wants war. He's not a warmonger. The press in the United States has been completely unfair to him. Here's a great example of it. He's trying to give Iran a chance to have peace. They don't have the cards. President Trump does, and they're trying to sabotage the negotiations now by throwing in a condition prior to negotiations. So I think President Trump is going to know what to do at the right time. And I think the American people in the world have to stand behind President Trump and allow him to do what he needs to do against a regime like this.
Yeah, meanwhile, this ceasefire is being held together by a thread. The Iranian foreign minister, who's supposed to be at these talks, he posted this, Abbas Araghchi. He said, the ball is in the U.S. court, and the world is watching whether it will act on its commitments. The vice president, our vice president, is in the air. We're headed to you to have these talks. We're committed. What more do they want, Brent?
Well, I mean, it's, to be clear, the Iranians have not lived up to their end of the deal.
Right.
They're threatening shipping going through the Straits of Hormuz, which was one of the foundations for actually entering into this. And there was room given to allow the regime, because they are fractured, the leadership's been largely taken out, to have some violations on that, but as long as moving towards honoring that commitment, which looks like they don't intend to. And so, like I again go back to earlier, this is going to have a very high probability of being a very short negotiation.
Yeah, Harley, the president posted on Truth Social saying Iran leaders are more reasonable in meetings than how they speak in public. He posted this: the Iranians are better at handling the fake news media and public relations than they are fighting. What could Iran be saying behind the scenes, or maybe perhaps say differently during the negotiations tomorrow?
Well, what they couldn't achieve on the battlefield, they're trying to achieve in negotiations. And they are masters at that. But they're up against President Trump, and they think they can manipulate him and public opinion. But I think their strategy and their style is going to fail. A good example is they said that in the deal of ceasefire talks, that Israel would not attack Hezbollah. But Vice President Vance specifically said that Hezbollah and Israel had nothing to do with the ceasefire. So it's quite clear that Iran is once again trying to manipulate and sabotage this, or try to put blame on the United States to try to get a leg up. But I don't think they'll get away with it.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, he said several countries led by the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, already in the region, looking to give, he said, practical support to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz would reopen. Rutte said NATO members, he admitted, they need to do better. Listen to this.
I totally understand that over time, the US wants more and more to pivot towards the Indo-Pacific. This is one of the reasons why in Europe we have to step up. End that period of codependence and become more interdependent with the United States. Within the alliance, a stronger Europe and a stronger NATO, as I said.
So the Wall Street Journal is reporting the president is thinking about punishing the NATO allies, maybe pulling out of the region, their countries. What is the message? What's the message the president's sending to Europe, Harley, and how should they respond?
I think the president is once again showing an outstanding strategy. Remember, he got European NATO nations to increase their GDP for defense to 5%. Both Obama and Biden tried to get him to pony up to 2%, the minimum. They failed at that. So his strategy, once again, is going to be effective. I strongly suspect that NATO nations are going to step up and help the United States here. But the biggest issue with the Strait of Hormuz is the precedent that it sets. What about the Mandeb Straits? What about the Straits of Malacca in Indonesia?
Sure.
Straits of Taiwan? If you create this precedent of allowing Iran to have extortion over the world on internationally open waterway, you're creating a very dangerous precedent that could lead the world to a depression. So this can't stand.
Slippery slope. Harley Lippman, Brent Sadler, gentlemen, thank you. Correspondent Sarah